There once lived a king named Rajan, ruler of a kingdom so vast and wealthy that travelers called it the land where rivers flowed with gold. His palace had towers that scraped the clouds, gardens bursting with rare flowers, and a throne carved from a single block of ivory. Yet, if you'd asked Rajan if he was happy, he'd have frowned and waved a jeweled hand dismissively. Happiness, he'd grumble. What is happiness but another thing to acquire? And so he tried. He ordered his servants to bring him treasures from distant lands, silks softer than moonlight, spices that danced on the tongue, a parrot that recited poetry. But with each new possession, his emptiness grew. One evening, as he sulked on his balcony, a sparrow landed beside him. Not just any sparrow, this one had feathers like polished copper and eyes that gleamed with mischief. "Why so gloomy, your majesty?" it chirped. "You have everything." Rajan scoffed. "Everything? Look around. I have more than everything. Yet I feel nothing." The sparrow tilted its head. "Ah. You're like the man who starves at a banquet because he refuses to eat." Before Rajan could reply, it fluttered onto his shoulder and whispered, "What if I showed you a treasure even kings cannot buy?" Now, let's pause here. Because this isn't just a story about a bird and a king. It's about us. How often do we chase the next promotion, the bigger house, the flashier car, convinced this will finally make us happy, only to feel emptier once we get it? Rajan's problem wasn't his wealth, it was his belief that joy lives outside us, waiting to be claimed like a trophy. The sparrow, of course, knew better. "Meet me at dawn by the old banyan tree," it said, "and wear something less kingly." Then it vanished into the twilight, leaving Rajan both irritated and intrigued. That night, for the first time in years, he dreamed not of gold but of flying. At sunrise, Rajan stood under the ancient banyan tree, disguised as a commoner in a faded tunic and sandals. The sparrow arrived clutching a single grain of rice. "Your first lesson," it declared, dropping the grain into his palm. "Find someone hungrier than you and give them this." Rajan blinked. "A grain of rice? I have warehouses full of it." The sparrow pecked his thumb sharply. "Ah, but this grain is different. It's not about what you give, it's about how you give." Grumbling, Rajan trudged into the village. He soon spotted a beggar boy shivering in an alley. Hesitant, he held out the rice. The boy's eyes widened. "For me," he breathed, clutching it like a gem. Then, shockingly, he broke the grain in half and offered part back. "You look hungry too, uncle." Rajan's throat tightened. No one had ever shared with him so freely, not even his queens or counselors. He tried to refuse, but the boy insisted. As Rajan ate the tiny morsel, a warmth spread through him, unfamiliar and sweet. "Is this happiness?" he wondered. When he returned to the banyan tree, the sparrow was waiting. "Well," it chirped. "Did you find your treasure?" I'm not sure," Rajan admitted. The sparrow hopped onto his knee. "That warmth you felt. That's the heartbeat of joy. It doesn't come from what you own, but from what you share." The king shook his head. "A pretty sentiment, bird. But my people need more than grains of rice. They need gold, security, power." The sparrow laughed, a sound like wind chimes. "Oh, Rajan. You've spent your life building walls to keep happiness out. Let's tear them down." And so began their journey. For days, the sparrow led Rajan through villages and forests, far from his gilded cage. He slept on straw mats, ate coarse bread, and washed in icy streams. At first, he complained bitterly. But slowly, something shifted. He noticed the way sunlight dappled through leaves, how a farmer's laughter could fill a field, the quiet pride of a potter shaping clay. One night, as they camped under stars, Rajan whispered, "I think I'm lighter." The sparrow smiled. "That's the weight of your crown lifting." Their journey took a dark turn when bandits ambushed them in a mountain pass. Rajan, furious, drew his dagger, but the sparrow fluttered in front of him. "Wait," it urged. The bandit leader, a scarred woman named Leela, snarled, "Give us your gold, old man, or we'll take your life." Rajan hesitated. Then, remembering the beggar boy, he did something unthinkable. He knelt. "I have no gold," he said, "but I have a story." Leela narrowed her eyes but nodded. He told them of his palace, his loneliness, the sparrow's lessons. To his surprise, Leela's tough facade cracked. "You think you're the only one who's empty," she muttered. "We steal because we're hungry, not for food, but for something." The sparrow hopped onto Leela's shoulder. "What if that something isn't taken, but given?" The next morning, Rajan and the bandits sat together, sharing stories and stale bread. When they parted, Leela handed him a withered flower. "For your crown," she said. "It suits you better." Rajan tucked the flower behind his ear, feeling a strange pride. Later, he asked the sparrow, "Why did they change?" The bird replied, "You didn't see them as thieves. You saw them as people. That's the secret. Joy grows when we stop dividing the world into mine and yours." As they neared the palace, Rajan dreaded returning to his old life. But the sparrow had one final lesson. "Steal something," it said. Rajan balked. "I'm a king." The bird chirped, "Exactly. Kings take. But today, take this." It gestured to a dusty roadside shrine where a lone candle flickered. "Blow it out." Rajan obeyed. Instantly, darkness swallowed them. "Why did you do that?" the sparrow asked. "Because you told me to." Rajan snapped. The bird sighed. "You still follow orders like a ruler. But happiness isn't about control, it's about light." With a flutter, it relit the candle. "Now, you try." Rajan stared at the wick. He'd commanded armies, but never something so small. Closing his eyes, he blew gently. Nothing. He tried again, softer. The flame glowed brighter. "I don't understand," he cried. The sparrow nuzzled his cheek. "Some things thrive not by force, but by tenderness. Like hearts. Like joy." When Rajan returned to his palace, his counselors gasped. His robes were torn, his hair wild, his crown replaced by a wilted flower. "Your Majesty," they cried. "What happened? Were you kidnapped?" "Cursed." Rajan smiled. "I was found." He ordered the palace gates thrown open, the treasure vaults unlocked. People streamed in, bewildered, as he distributed gold, silks, even his beloved ivory throne. "Take what you need," he urged. But the more he gave, the richer he felt. The sparrow watched from a window sill. "Aren't you afraid of losing everything?" it asked. Rajan laughed. "I've lost nothing. I finally see everything." Years later, when travelers spoke of the kingdom, they no longer mentioned gold. They spoke of the king who danced in rainstorms, who taught children to read, who kept a pet sparrow on his shoulder. On his deathbed, Rajan whispered to the bird, "Tell me the truth, were you magic?" The sparrow chirped, "No more than you. I just remembered what you forgot. The greatest treasures are the ones we let go of." If this story stirred something in you, share it with someone who's searching for light. And remember, true happiness isn't a thing to own, but a flame to tend. Blow gently, and watch it grow. Until next time, may your heart stay light, and your treasures be endless.